be an ecumenical matter.
Hello and welcome to Ecumenical Matters, the Father Ted podcast. It's a very big episode for us today because it's our very first live episode, and we're up to episode 22 of our podcast, and we've got some returning visitors today. This is season 3, episode 6, Kicking Bishop Brennan Up the Arse. And this is to my right on the deck desk today is Vince. You've seen him in a few episodes if you've been listening to the podcast. How you doing, Vince?
Yeah, alright.
You're the human thesaurus.
Thesaurus.
Yeah, and you're Flimosh on Beam.pro. So tell us a bit about your gaming stream.
Just live streaming games. I'm going through wrapping up a few that have started but not finished. So not really much happening with it.
You don't actually get to the end of the game.
Yeah, it's a bit of a problem for me. It's like anything, I don't finish anything in my life.
Well, just get to the end of the game, Vince. You sorted. And to my left, we have poet extraordinaire and the lead vocalist from Dirty Words, Colin Hassard. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm getting there. But head's a bit wrecked from this, but we'll see how we go.
We'll start it now, so we'll finish.
We may as well. We'll not pull events. We'll actually get to the end of it. And you got big news this week from all the way from Finland.
Yeah, I did.
You did, yeah.
I can see what's written there.
Would you like to break the news then to the adoring crowd?
I did. I got engaged last week.
And so who's the lucky lady?
What an absolute mug she is. She's from Finland. Probably got engaged in Finland. And I asked her mum and dad for permission, like a gentleman should. And now we're back here. And
oh, fantastic. So we're all getting a big party down your way then.
Afterwards, yeah, but also buy me a drink afterwards.
Yeah. And over on the left there is Graham. Graham's a DJ and musician, so say hello, Graham.
Hello.
And how's things been going with yourself?
I didn't get engaged, but all good.
All good. Yeah. But you'll be getting up and running with a new podcast coming up soon.
Yes.
Alan Partridge one. We'll have that in the new year maybe.
Yeah. Well, it won't be New Year. It'll be like.
Well, in the new year.
In the new year, it'll be up.
Lovely.
Definitely by then. Anyway.
Fantastic. Well, this is, as I said, this is our first live episode. We're here as part of Culture Night Belfast. Say hello, everyone, from the crowd. You know, big drinks, facts, and arses from everyone. Come on. Girls. And we're in the Fendereschi gallery, so you might notice some of the beautiful art around the walls, and that'll be on display later on this evening as well. But there is.
I should say, James, the gallery told us that you could actually take one of these home with you if you want. So feel free just to take a souvenir.
One for everyone. Pick whatever you like.
There's one for everybody in the audience. That is not an official policy of the Ecumenical Matters podcast.
Free gift.
Yeah. But there is a few notes in the parish bulletin this week. We did mention a few weeks ago that the Todd Unctious actor, Jared McSorley, had been arrested. And I'll rephrase that. He had been put under had an under arrest warrant because he had broken some plant pots. So it was a crazy story. But he has now paid his debt to society. He broke 2 plant pots in Dougal, but now he's had to pay the ultimate price, €40. That was the extent of his fines. He's paid it now, so he's a free man again. So he's Todd Unctious is out to roam the streets again. So what do you think of that? It was a very, very Father Ted-esque episode. Almost, you could nearly write that into a Father Ted show, couldn't you?
How did he break?
Well, we don't know. Details are
Don't know the
sketchy.
specifics.
Yeah, and from what I can gather, it might be a bit sketchy in his head too. Because well, it just sounds to me, from what I can gather from the news reports, is that he might just went on the tear when he was pissed. And yeah.
If you're that concerned, I don't think they suffered. So.
Well, exactly. I mean, I think he did. He put the plant into another pot, I believe. So he made sure he got his priorities right when it came to maintaining the integrity of the plants.
You have to have proper etiquette when you're destroying stuff. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Sign of the times. What is this world coming to? And a man can't go into a garden centre and wreck some plant pots.
It wasn't actually a garden centre. It was outside a bank, apparently. It was an Ulster Bank in Donegal.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah.
If it was Ulster Bank, definitely I'd be smashing stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. Maybe we should get on board with him. He's clearly got the fight the power mindset that we need to get on board with. What do you reckon?
Well, I used to work for Ulster Bank, so I'm going to say no comment on that.
Oh, you're free now. You're free to speak. You know, you've broken free of those capitalist chains.
You're never really free.
Burn his bridges. He might go back.
Well, Graham Linehan has a new sitcom out called Motherland. Have any of you watched this?
No.
No, you haven't? Well, I have. It's written with his wife Helen, Holly Walsh, who I'd never heard of but has written quite a few recent sitcoms, and also sort of superstar of recent sitcoms, Sharon Horgan. So the four of them have written a pilot episode, and it's actually brilliant. I didn't know what to make of it because It's about motherhood, which obviously I don't have kids, so I didn't think I would get much out of it.
Plus, you're not a mother.
Well,
You could never be one.
You're
I
a
know
father.
that's hard for you to deal with, but
you're a father.
I said, well, I'm not a parent, so no. But I didn't think I would get much out of it. But it was genuinely hilarious. Like it was, it was really daring. It was really well written, really tightly written, brilliantly acted, and it featured Philomena Kunk from Charlie Brooker.
Amazing.
Yeah, so she was fantastic in it as well. So I would highly recommend that. So it's just one episode out and it's on iPlayer at the minute, so I would highly recommend that to all and sundry. But we'll get right into it then, into the episode, and we'll dive right in. And this is the second part of a two-parter episode, and it's the first time that Father Ted has done this, so it's obviously a big deal for them at the time. And it hadn't really been done by sitcoms much. As a rule, like, especially not in Britain, to be continued. I mean, you'd have them in dramas, you'd have them in, soap operas maybe. Well, you'd have cliffhangers at the end of
To be continued. Tune in next week.
Yeah, the cliffhanger. So at the end of the previous episode, there was quite a lot happening. So why don't we roll a clip at 0000, Vince, and see how we go. Oh, by the way, I'll actually just put a wee caveat on this. This whole podcast and this whole event has got a lot of Craggy Island production values. You'll have to excuse some of the little bugs like E4 in the corner and that sort of thing. But just hope everyone's reassured that Celebrity Big Brother will be on one day from when this was pirated off the internet. And this is very much a lesson learned in anti-piracy. So go on when you're ready, Vince.
Father Ted. It's a stupid game of football.
There's nothing stupid about the over 75 football match.
Anyway, Ted, do you think you can win this match without Father Nick?
I hope so. We're using the forfeit system again this year.
Wait a second. These are fake hands.
By this time next week, you have to.
Yes.
You have to.
Kick Bishop Brennan up the arse.
So Ted lost a football match, the over 75s all priests indoor football, against his mighty enemy, Dick Byrne from Rugged Island. Did you ever watch that episode recently? Yesterday, fantastic. It wasn't the greatest episode in the world, I have to say, and we did bring that up in the podcast last week. But it's set up. It was mostly to purpose of it was set up this episode, wasn't it?
yeah.
And and it was so it's trying to set up this episode. So we had the football happening, and we've got the drums going on outside. So this is culture night, everyone. It's like Edinburgh Festival, just all microcosm into one little day for Belfast. And the sun is shining, and we're here in culture night during the middle of the day. But never mind. So they played the football match, and it turned out that Ted cheated with his fake hands,
Fake arms.
his fake arms.
It's not surprising in the slightest, though, that he cheated.
Well, exactly. Oh dear. It's either the drums going past or Jack's just woken up and he needs to get his first drink.
Oh, look at that spike.
And it is coming up. Look, beautifully, it's coming up on the waveform, so it'll drown us all out on the podcast too. And
Yeah, it's turning down now, so.
yeah, brilliant.
Feel
See,
good.
I thought we would have trouble with drums going past in July when we're all recording in Belfast. I didn't think by September we'd still be having that issue, but there we go. But yeah, so Ted cheated. He managed to install. He's using fake arms and was controlling Jack with a wheelchair, using a remote control wheelchair. Something which should have gone into mass production by this point. I would have thought.
Remote control wheelchairs.
Yeah, well, it's why not? Why not remote control everything?
Indeed, I think that's a whole other podcast, but
Well, yeah, true, yeah.
I feel like that's a very Ted thing to do. It's like a very convoluted sort of plan just to do something very simple over something very stupid.
Well, exactly. I mean, we've seen this side of Ted before in the Lent episode when he said, "I'm not." Lent's not about sacrificing for our Lord. It's about beating Dick Byrne and giving things up conversation.
Yeah.
So when it comes to an actual competition like a over 75s football competition, he's going to go all out.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to go proper Lance Armstrong on this. Like, there's no stone going to go unturned. Like, but so we just watched the clip there previously on Father Ted. It was very this is what I picked up from it. Cops. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Well, it never really.
It was though.
It didn't really happen over here, did it? It was a very American thing.
I think it was on Sky like at about 5 in the afternoon or something.
Right, and well, I can imagine the sort of general gist of it like, but was it entertaining to watch?
It was like one of those things is just, you can't turn it off because it numbs your head.
So it's just like you just sort of melt into the sofa and just
But it was actually what it was more like. I thought it was NYPD Blue because it started with the
okay,
shaky cam and everything.
So that would actually make a lot more sense.
and it used to do previously on NYPD Blue.
Yeah.
Yes, that does actually make a lot more sense. Well, I was going to say that Andy D'Emene, who is the director, he's not been the director for the first two series. He's just came over in series 3, so he's taken over from Declan Lowney. And until I found that out, I didn't really sort of notice any visual differences in the show. But now that I found it out, there is sort of something slightly different on series 3. You know, for example, I don't think you would have saw that sort of the sort of shaky cam element to it with Declan Lowney, or you know, the funeral home in the previous episode looked very sterile, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think if Declan Lowney had been on it, it would have been a bit more grubby or something, or you know, just a bit more shit, a bit more Craggy Island if you want. Just like these production values, or you know, the caves in the caves episode, they looked very much like this is a studio setup.
Yeah, it was very obvious.
Yeah.
Sure, when I was on that episode, we were saying we found out. I think it's Graham directed the exterior shots,
The location streets,
and then that other guy whose name I've forgotten already, he did all the studio based stuff.
That's right. Yeah. So he was. Yeah. So when they were in the sort of the house and the parochial house and everything, it was him doing the directing.
Yeah.
That's right, actually. But yeah. So that was the previously on Father's Head. So it used the same clips, but it seemed like they were acted a bit more. If you know what I mean, they were a bit more amateur drama-ish, as in like, oh no, those are fake arms, because they obviously.
I always thought that was like the worst bit of acting. I don't know if it was intentional, but just the delivery of that line is the worst thing about the entire.
About the show.
series.
Well,
The
that's
whole
so
thing
bad.
seems intentional. It seems like they just went, like, you're going to have discovered like, you know, the biggest drama on Craggy Island ever. Milk it for all it's worth, and then he delivers that line. It's terrible. And I think it's intentionally done that way.
Well, yes, I do. If you hear people, you know, quote that.
I think it is intentional.
Yeah. So people quote it, and they'll quote it in the way he said it, and I do think. Well, it's Jason Byrne who's since gone on to a sort of successful comedy career, but he was a bit of an unknown back then.
Ripping off other comedians' jokes.
Well, that's a bit harsh, Vince. I don't know.
He's notorious for it.
Is he?
Oh yeah,
It's
really bad. He
such a-
ripped off an entire sketch from like Lee Evans and all.
Did he?
Oh yeah, really bad. I hate the man.
Well, see, there's this thing about ripping off an idea and then.
Oh no, he
just,
took it like word for word.
Well, he actually just took the script and put it in.
Pretty much, yeah. He took the same actions and everything that Lee does on stage. Not that I'm defending Lee Evans, I think he's a terrible comedian as well.
No, Lee
But-
Evans is good. He's got his own style.
As
He's got his
plays,
own point.
It's very repetitive. But yeah,
He's
Jason
very physical.
Byrne. Yeah, exactly. But it's not the point. The point is Jason Byrne ripped it off an entire like section of his jokes, and he's ripped off other comedians' jokes. I just can't remember any off the top of my head, but he has done other ones as well.
Okay, so Jason Byrne allegedly rips people off.
Not allegedly, he 100% does.
We have to say it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, allegedly.
We are live, you know. We're on Facebook Live, everyone. So say hello to the crowd on the internet. Is there any comments coming in from anyone on the front row? You can see.
Joined.
Who joined?
Ryan James Maguire.
Hi,
Who would have thought someone from Limerick would have become Bishop?
Oh, well, there you go. Who would have thought somebody from Limerick could become Bishop? Of course, I think he's referring to Len, who will, of course, become coming up later in the episode. We'll introduce him in a few minutes. But hello, Ryan, how are you? But yeah, so it goes on then. Ted is obviously very anxious about the fact that basically after he had cheated, he found out he cheated, Dick gave him a proper forfeit. He has to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse. So that's where they left it in the previous episode, and now it's playing on his mind.
I love the fact that anytime he's mentioning that he has to do this, he says the entire line, I have to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse. It's not just I have to kick him or, you know,
I have to do this. Or
I have to
something.
do something terrible. It's always, I have to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse. And everybody says the entire line.
Well, it is a very stark statement.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have to say it. It's like when you have to declare what's happening when you have something that grievous coming up in your mental state. I mean, if you just sort of dismissed it, you just have to give that Bishop another kicking.
No, but
It doesn't have the same impact, does it?
no, I just find it funny that he just repeats it every time he has to mention it.
Well, it is. Yes, it is. Every time I have to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse.
Yeah.
But it's all right though, according to Mrs Doyle, because she thinks he's gonna like having a good hard kick up the arse. Do you think she's right, Colin?
I think some people do need a good kick up the arse. Maybe this podcast is finished with you getting kicked up the arse live on Periscope.
Live.
Yeah.
I'm not on Periscope,
Oh,
Facebook
whatever.
Live.
Oh, excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, get your brands right. I don't know if there's enough will from the audience. Maybe we'll have to do that.
Can I do it?
To a vote.
We could put it to a vote. So hands up who wants to see me get kicked up the arse live on Facebook Live.
Everyone, basically. Okay, form a queue.
Yeah,
Everybody gets a go.
it's a very vocal minority that doesn't want me. Come on, speak up, guys. Come on.
Do you know the interesting thing actually about the up the arse thing? I did some research on this episode. Somebody researched it. And on Wikipedia, it must be catered for the American audience because it says Father Ted has to kick Bishop Brennan on the buttocks.
The buttocks,
And it
right?
says brackets up the arse. Close brackets.
In case there's any sort of confusion and some loss in translation.
What's an arse?
An arse? What's that? But Dougal comes in with mad news. Clint Eastwood has been arrested for a crime he didn't commit. Oh no, hang on.
That was my favourite line in the entire episode.
That's your line of the show, is it?
Well, there is one other line that's my favourite, but that genuinely got the biggest laugh out of me in the whole episode.
Well, it's great. Like Clint Eastwood is obviously a legendary actor and director, and even since then, he's gone on to make such brilliant films like $1 Million Baby, Gran Torino, Invictus, Flags of Our Fathers, Iwo Jima, Mystic River. There's like dozens, and this is a man who was given the Lifetime Achievement Oscar before he made Unforgiven.
Before he died.
Well before he died. He's still with us, I believe, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he sort of lose count this year because so many people are turning up the tips, like so. But yeah, no, he's brilliant. But yeah, Dougal got his wires crossed. What film do you reckon he was chatting about?
I can't actually think of one that.
I thought it might have been.
Oh, Alcatraz maybe.
Well, he did commit his crime in Alcatraz, didn't
Oh,
he?
did they?
I thought it might have been one of the Dirty
I think I
Harrys.
watched it about 15 years ago. Oh dear.
Yeah, Ted needs to fix his collar. Yeah. Come on, Ted, you haven't been defrocked yet. Just because that money's been resting in your account. Does everyone get our disguises, by the way? We've got Jack over here.
It's nothing even close to him, like.
He's already had like 2 whiskies today, so he's definitely our Jack of the day. I'm supposed to be the Dougal. Leave me alone, Ted. Leave me alone.
But I say you do a good Dougal impression.
Mrs Doyle.
And then our Mrs. Doyle over here. Yeah. we purchased the wing special, and our Tom.
Tom, no expense spared on the outfit.
Yeah, I like the Craig Allen production values. As long as we keep them up. Yeah.
So it went for the back of your t-shirt as well.
It did, yeah. So he's also Jacques ERJ, if you read it backwards from the inside.
But they can't
What?
see that.
Turn around.
Yeah, well, it's gone through that. Oh, it's actually gone. Oh, turn around.
It
I
went
thought
the
you
whole way
meant-
through.
Okay, yeah, because I thought you meant
I
inside.
don't know if this is that interesting for the audience, but
Yeah, it's interesting for me.
It's visual. it's a big slap so far. So.
It's a good gag for an audio podcast.
Yeah. Well, they should be watching live on Facebook Live.
this is actually done with a Parker pen I stole from Ulster Bank.
Oh, there you go. Fight the power, man. Fight the power.
Bringing the system down from inside.
With Dick, because it's such a forfeit, Dick, Ted has to take it really seriously because he has made poor old Dick do horrible things like say bollocks very loud in front of our President Mary Robinson. That made me think of, do you remember that Dick and Dom? They used to have a wee show.
Dick and Dom in the bungalow.
In the bungalow, yeah, and they had this thing,
In the
boogers.
bungalow, they're not gangster.
Bogies.
Bogies.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, yes, bogies. So
I was a big fan.
so they go into a place like an art gallery, for example, and a crowded place, and one of them, so say there's 2 of them in the room, and one of them would go bogey, and the other one would have to say bogey a bit louder, and each one would have to go louder than the last one, and it with hilarious results. They did it in a lecture theatre in a university once, which was probably the funniest one. Where they were dispersed to 2 parts of the university or 2 parts of the lecture theatre, and one up on each other, and yeah, bogies. Right? So everyone a big bogey for the art gallery. Bogey. But well, yeah, any arts or any audience participation you can get. But yeah, so he's been mentioned. Yeah, it's a very bitter rivalry they have, Dick and Ted.
I'm surprised he didn't actually appear in this episode at all.
That's what I was thinking too. You think he would want to see the actual event occur,
Yeah.
but they never set a date on it.
Sure.
On the actual, Arse kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse, to give it its full title.
Yeah, we thought maybe they would have had him like make a phone call to him and show him in his house and things like that.
And see how he's enjoying winding him up with it.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose he wanted the photograph. He insisted the photographic evidence. So he but he's made sure he's pushed things along a bit by telling Bishop Brennan that there's an apparition of Bishop Brennan himself in the skirting board of the parochial house. So Bishop Brennan tearing down the highway to Craggy Island to try and see this, which made me think of images of Jesus that show up everywhere these days, like on sides of toast and stuff.
Inside tomatoes on this one.
Inside a tomato.
Is that personal experience?
Bullshit. It's just there was somebody cut into the tomato and the seeds kind of made a big Jesus shape.
You sound sort of disappointed by that.
Well, see,
It's like you almost wanted it to happen by the sounds of you.
I know, yeah. I just thought it could have been better.
we're all reaching out for our saviour, our higher power, to communicate with us. And back in the day, he was doing it properly. He was showing up on a Turin shroud, and it was a proper image of his face.
Now he's on a piece of toast.
Yeah, now he's just on a piece of toast, which he'll either cut up or spread margarine over. Like, why didn't he go on Periscope or Facebook Live? Give us something easy we can access, like something accessible.
Dialing it in basically is what he's doing. Just turned off.
Yeah, he needs to up his game. He needs to get with the program, I think. But we'll go to the next clip, and there's been another apparition has been going around the island, the mystery of the Mud Angel, as Dougal said it. It's 4:13.
I got it. Right?
Yeah.
And have you heard about the mystery of the Mud Angel? The mystery of the Mud Angel. God, it's weird. Every week in the mud outside of Larry's pub, it's the perfect outline of a man. They call it the Mud Angel. Mystery solved.
So there's the apparition in the mud outside of Larry's pub every week. Probably was Jack. But it's good to know he's got his own local. Like he's not just drinking in the house on his own.
There's also what amazes me more is that he actually is allowed to go out on his own. Usually they're very strict on Jack being allowed to roam.
Yeah, so they have his sort of designated times where he can go on his walks and and on his wheelchair and stuff.
One episode where they're hunting him down with like a tranquilizer gun.
Yes, exactly. They bring the local Garda.
Yeah.
The local police force in just and start using the top of the line equipment they have.
Isn't that when he's naked as well, running through the forest? Or is that different episode?
No.
That is, well,
has he ever been naked?
Was it different scene?
It's same episode, different scene, I think. Yeah, but yeah, so he roams free as and when he wants, except when he's going to O'Leary's and he just falls straight down. I mean, do you reckon it's one of those situations where he's out the door and just straight down timber style onto his face? Is that from my forensic study of the mud on his face? Yeah, that's what I would gather from it. Watching too much CSI, I think, but
we've all done it.
No, we definitely haven't.
No.
Just speak for yourself, maybe. But
I've had the timber moment, definitely. Yeah, I was so. One time I was standing in a crowded lift and I actually fell asleep standing up, and when the lift evacuated, I just went straight down. Yeah, bad times. But yeah, so we got Dougal, who mentions that when Ted's anxious, he's keeping him up all night. And Dougal says, he's trying to drown Dougal's asleep, and he says, I don't know what happened. 1 minute I was drowsy and tired, then I can't remember anything. Christopher Nolan took $300 million took a $300 million movie to say the exact same thing with Inception. He covered most of the same ground that Dougal did in those 4 lines. But yeah, so it is keeping him up at night, and he stays up till morning. And did you ever have that when you have you got something worrying you, and it does actually start playing in your mind, and you can't actually get to sleep, and you turn around and the sun's starting to come up, and you're like, oh Jesus, I've got work in the morning in like about 45 minutes or something.
Yeah, happened to me this week.
Really? What happened?
I was in schools this week teaching poetry to secondary school kids.
Oh, lovely.
That was my first time doing it, and it was freaking me out.
And so you had to come up with like a workshop or something, or?
Yeah, doing workshops for high school boys, trying to teach them poetry.
How'd that go?
It actually went well in the end.
Well, exactly. I was about to say the millennials are actually a bit more open-minded to that sort of thing than the Gen Xers. They were a bit more poetry. That's so lame. But the new generation are a bit more.
I think there's a bit of truth behind that comment.
I think there is, yeah, definitely, and because I was talking about kind of rap and wordplay and things like that, rather than Chaucer and Shakespeare and.
Well, exactly, yeah. Like Eminem probably opened that up to a lot of people. Certainly for me, anyway. It was my first sort of introduction to the power of language, the power of words, and the power of wordplay to get messages across. Like
the first question I got was some guy put his hand up. He said, "Sir, do you like Shakespeare?" I went, yeah, kind of. He went, is Shakespeare a poet? I says, yes. He says, what's all that crap with that thou and thee and all that kind of stuff? Boring, mate, isn't it? Well, it's kind of, yeah.
Well, you say this right, but there's a company I think over in Edinburgh. Well, over the festival when I was there, they were doing Shakespeare in emojis, publishing Shakespeare in emojis. I don't know. I didn't actually get to see the show, so I wanted to see how they were actually going to put it onto stage. But so language evolves. I think the kids are right. All that really stuffy language it needs to be updated. It needs to be made more accessible to people to make it more universal. Because the ideas of it are universal, so make the accessibility of it universal, I would say.
Make poetry cool again, basically.
Exactly, and that's where we have our Colin Hazard here with our dirty words.
That's what I'm doing, 7 o'clock in the Sunflower Bar.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Well, everyone get down to that if you can.
No word to avoid now.
No, sorry?
I know where to avoid now at 7.
Well, you'll be there and you'll be getting enlightened by the Sunflower Bar and the poetry, the resident poet. But yeah, so it's 6:39. But yeah, we have the introduction then to our bishop from Limerick, who's as you say, it's hard to believe that someone from Limerick could get to be bishop, and he seems to be a very powerful bishop because he does have the autonomy to be able to banish somebody to the horrible parishes like Rugwood and Craggy Island. So let's see what happens when he comes through the door.
Hello.
This is the housekeeper.
Your Grace. Listen. The hat you're wearing.
It's actually called a biretta.
Is it?
Yes.
That's not stalling. In you go.
That's very true, Dougal. And you see the importance of the Eucharist in the Mass from what St. Paul says here. Well, the way I see it, pretending to talk about religion. Hello, Len. Don't call me Len, little prick. I'm a bishop.
Yeah. So we immediately see that Len is a fearsome character and one that they all feel that they need to show reverence to, apart from Dougal, who just straight up hello Len. But yeah, so it's supposed to be odd for them because obviously Ted's got this playing on his mind, and then he's trying to give this impression that Craggy Island it's not as bad as maybe they thought, and obviously Len's not. You can't pull any punches with Len because he knows he can score exactly because he's the one who put them there. So Dougal is trying to convince him they're reading scripture. Dougal actually did look reasonably intelligent with the glasses on, didn't he?
Maybe you should try it.
Maybe I should try it. It's kind of super. Let's see what it look like. Hello. Does it work? You're looking intelligent yet, Ted?
No.
No. You have very strong glasses. I generally couldn't see. I couldn't even see Vincent as well.
All right.
What happened? Is there a story behind the breaking of the glasses?
No, not a funny one. I just dropped them.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were panning for gold in some godforsaken island or something. And
If I don't was going to be asked that question, I would have written something and created a story, but no.
It's all off the cuff here, so you have to roll the punches like so. But yeah, no. So we're also introduced to Father Jessup. We'll show a bit more of him in a bit. But Ted described him as the most sarcastic priest in Ireland, and his sarcasm I thought was a bit. Well, not obvious. Obvious is the wrong word, but it wasn't quite as biting as you would hope from a Father Ted character. Did you think?
It's a wee bit clunky, yeah.
Yeah, it was like so. It asked, "Have you? Did you come here on the new road?" No, we went round by southern Yemen. So I suppose we're trying to get into that sort of Chandler Bing thing that was happening in the 90s of just like the smart ass remark, and Chandler Bing did have some clever ones. One that springs immediately to mind was somebody asked him, "Is he waiting for the toilet?" And he says, "No, it's just a daredevil game I play where I stand here as long as I can until I bust." But yeah, so this wasn't quite as sharp, but I suppose maybe that's what they were playing against. They were sort of showing how awkward that can be to sort of write or to sort of display on screen.
What was Father Jessup doing? Was he like the Bishop Brennan's helper?
Yeah, he was assistant. Yeah. So
yeah, he didn't seem to be that much assistant. Bishop Brennan didn't seem to like him that much.
Well, Bishop Brennan liked to sort of fill him in on what the situation was. I think he liked him as a sounding board more than anything.
And anytime he made like a sarcastic remark, Bishop Brennan was sort of like, you know, laughing and giggling away with him.
Yeah, he did. He did sort of give that a sort of laugh that, you know, arrogant people have the tendency to do. Like, so yeah, you know, it's just as a guest priest, this wobbly table is probably destroying the microphone. But as a guest priest, he wasn't the strongest character, I wouldn't have thought.
I thought that in the third series, in general, a lot of the kind of ancillary characters were pretty weak compared to the ones in series 1 and 2.
Yes, there wasn't as many standard ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the third series they're kind of hitting you over the head with gimmicks quite a bit.
Yes, yeah.
And the kind of subtlety and wit is kind of starting to stray off a wee bit.
Well, funny you say that. Turby, one of the earlier episodes, wasn't looking forward to season 3. Now there is some classics in series 3, such as
my favourites in series 3.
The Milk Float, Speed 3.
Oh, that's my second favourite.
What's your first favourite then?
Night of the Nearly Dead.
Well, that's coming up next, so that'll be a great episode with Owen McLeod. And funnily, he's not a priest. He's a character, quite clearly based on Daniel O'Donnell. So
he's fantastic.
So
he's highlight for me.
Exactly. So when they take the shackles of the character being a priest off themselves, they do seem to have a bit more room to sort of explore new ideas, I think. But sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. Discuss. Did any of a sarcastic form of wit? I think I would say you do, Vince.
Yeah, I have my moments of it.
Yeah. Cool. Have you ever had a sharp line where you've had the room creased in laughter?
Don't know.
Well, see, when you're just being sarcastic, you're not expecting big laugh out loud laughter, are you?
No, you're usually just trying to be a smarters.
Exactly.
And you usually look like a dick. So.
Well, you can't come across like that, especially if it fails.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sarcasm is a very, very risky form of wit. Would you think?
Hard to judge.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So they need to, as we said, they need to take a picture of the kicking Bishop Brennan off the arse, and so they need to work it in. And their idea is to just go ahead with the action of kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse, but they need to prove. So they have to disguise the fact that Dougal needs to take a photo. So he decides just to go around taking photos of just random parts of the room. Where we can actually put that on 8:19.
Yeah.
Before we look at the skirting board, do you mind if Father Maguire takes a few photographs? Go on, please. Oh, this is nothing! I suppose we never know.
Yeah, so Dougal just went around just taking random pictures of anything he could find, really. It could be argued that he was trying to be an amateur nature documentarian, and instead of what they do in Spring Watch, which is go to the end of your garden and just see what's happening down there, he decided to put the camera down the back of the sofa and see what bugs were there. He might have had some brilliant photographs of spiders. Even David Attenborough couldn't have got.
I love the camera though in that.
Yes.
So
Probably old school, yeah.
probably with flash.
Well, it's strange because it's a different camera than they took to the caves, which was it was another handheld sort of consumer camera, but it had a massive optical zoom lens that went out about that far, like about 6 inches out of the front of the camera. Whereas that's a bit more old school. So something must have happened on the caves. They lost the camera.
I'm impressed with that level of detail you've got into on the cameras used in Father Tales.
Oh well, this is what the podcast's all about. I'm trying to find every little hole I can pick out of the show, see if it survives, and see if it still emerges as the greatest sitcom of all time. It's doing pretty well so far, I have to say, and we're only got 3 episodes left, so I think we're doing alright. But I am a bit of a camera nerd as well. I did like a foundational course as well back in the day, where I had all my cameras and stuff. So they're obviously extremely fearful of the fact that Len coming up. But so we'll go. They did try and go ahead with the kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. So we'll cue that up now and see what happened when they tried to do it.
There it is, Grace. Have a look at it. It's on the window there. I don't see anything pretty. What happens
Yeah, so he's just about to. He's actually worked himself up. He's got all the energy, and he's actually going. He's invested himself into it, and he's actually taking his run up. And as soon as he does, Dolly Jessup turns around as is about to watch him. So he's obviously scuppered, and at that point it's too late to actually pull out of it. So he has to take his own momentum straight out the window.
Yeah, but why?
Well, why not? I mean, they've been through that window quite a few times. In fact, that
Aye,
was
but
one of
this
our
is
features.
upstairs, isn't it?
Well, it's a new feature in our Window to the Soul, so that's about the fourth time now he's gone through the window.
Yeah.
Is this you that you don't like slapstick?
It's not that. Yeah, a little bit. So in Photographic it seems a bit out of place sometimes. Slapstick.
Well, I think that one was earned because
It's usually fine if it's coming from like Jack. It's usually fine a bit of slapstick there, but just for no reason basically to leap out a window. I know he was caught, but to me that seemed a bit extreme to do.
well, no, like I said, I think it was
Especially from a
earned.
second floor.
Which, well, it was a bumpier landing than before, definitely. Especially since he didn't have all his American football gear on,
Yeah.
like the last time. Like I said, he had pumped himself up. He had already made his run up, and now he can't actually pull himself out. So he has to sort of improvise. And what better way than to just go head first through a window?
Yeah.
I mean, have none of the rest of you's gone head first through a window. Like, it's just not something you do. You know?
No, but my
not this
dad
one.
has.
Really?
Well, me first, technically.
What happened?
Do you know where there's that story, like a pane of glass always has like a weak point in it, and it doesn't really take an awful lot for the whole thing just to shatter? He was at some party or something, and there was like a glass door, it
Right.
was like full size big glass thing, and he didn't notice it was there. He
Right.
thought it was just like an open thing to the outside, and walked into it, and his knee hit the pane of glass. But this was back in like maybe the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And
So,
safety glass wasn't really a thing as much. So it was just literally like big shards of glass just like falling around him. And he was like, yeah, I was pretty lucky it didn't just like hit me in the leg.
Just get
It was,
right
like,
through a
bit
major
of glass
artery.
hit you in the leg.
Mm.
Kill you like.
jeez, right, okay.
Leave a mark anyway. But he was pretty lucky anyway. So.
But he was doing one of those taking your walks and then go straight into a glass window.
Yeah, sort of.
See, now they need reinforced that you'll just have a comedy.
Well, yeah. See, that's happened to me. Because we have big patio doors in our house when we were growing up, and one summer it was open the entire day. And I was like, I'm going to go out on my bike, like a child obviously. I was like,
Right.
got my helmet on. I was like, yes, right, gonna go. It's gonna be great. When I go on my bike, it's gonna be fantastic. Bolt in through the dining room, take a big leap to go out the patio doors. Somebody closed them. I just bounced off the door and went backwards, and I went on my back. So it was just like, poof, oh.
Well, you seem to have quite a lot of head traumas, Vince, because I
Yeah.
just noticed today you had a 22-inch scar,
22 stitches
or
at the
22
wrong
stitch
there.
scar. Yeah.
And then there's
that's
4
okay.
staples on top of it. There's a 20-inch scar.
It's pretty.
along there.
Yeah, it's pretty huge. So does that
4 staples in the top. Dog bit through my lip.
Vince, come on, be a bit more careful. You should just go around cottonwood all the time. We can't
We
have
have
you-
stories then if it didn't happen though.
Well, you still have the cottonwood stories.
The what?
The cottonwood stories.
Yeah.
Call those stories, what?
I don't know what he's on about. I was just kind of nodding and agreeing at this point.
You're wrapped in cottonwood.
Oh.
But yeah, so so Father or Bishop Brennan isn't too impressed by the apparent apparition on a skirting board, which is clearly just a lot of woodworm has gone into the skirting board. And now that Ted has taken a flying leap out the window, he decides he's had enough and he needs to go because he's got an audience with the Pope tomorrow, which is not as quite as good as the audience with Lily Savage as Dougal has just mentioned. But it's not. He has to go to Rome tomorrow. Rome. He probably rolls his R's.
He does it every time as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's I think that's the actor that was mentioned before that he's a BAFTA winning Olivia Award winning actor. So he's got the old acting chops and proper Shakespearean. So it's not just R's that he says; it's Rars or Rome. But Mrs Doyle tells him they've taken the roads in. And when I first heard that, I actually thought that was some sort of colloquialism, as in they'd closed the roads. But no, they've actually taken the roads in and put them into storage in a warehouse. It's a very novel solution to potential flooding.
Very Craggy Island solution.
Well, yeah. If they could actually enact that in some areas, probably would save a lot of bother. Would you reckon?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that Bishop Brennan and Jessup just accept that as.
They don't even question it. They're just like, all right, pretty much. They're annoyed about it, but they're just like, well, that just happened.
Yeah. We'll just get on. We'll just get out of here and go.
Yeah.
But 11:51. Mrs Doyle can't quite get a handle on on the sarcasm of Jessup.
11:51.
Sorry.
Will I take up the beds in the spare room?
No! We'll sleep outside in the ditch.
Okay, so. Would you like a cup of tea?
No, we'd rather die of thirst.
Okay, so.
Mrs. Doyle, Father Joseph being a bit sarcastic.
Why are you being sarcastic, Papa Jeff?
No, we want to die of thirst. Mrs. Doyle, I know it's a bit confusing. Just do the opposite of what Father Joseph says.
Okay. So, you really do want a cup of tea?
Yes.
Yeah, so she doesn't quite get the sarcasm, so she's told do the opposite of what Father Jessup says, and there's another Simpsons did it. Don't do what Bart does. But it was brilliant comic timing with when he's about to accept his cup of tea and just pulls it away in one nice little movement, which perfectly done, and it shows again like there's so many different types of humor. Like it's not just the surrealism, it's not just the the writing, it's not just the big massive characters, it's the small little physical movements as well. It just shows you how many layers it has, like. But yeah, we go to the 12:51 where Jack finally awakens, and he's described as the Kraken.
The Kraken awaits. He'll be destroying your father, Hackett. Arse biscuits! To his grace like that. Apologize immediately!
I'm so sorry.
Now that's sarcasm.
So Jack can get on the sarcasm boat as well, it seems. But yeah, Jessup got away with a bit of murder there almost, because Jack has struck out at people for a lot less. But the Kraken awakes, as Len says, is a quote from a Tennyson poem, I believe. Colin, can you expand on that a wee bit?
Based on what's written there, I would agree with that, yeah.
Well, I just got that from IMDb, so I was hoping maybe you could get a bit more information. Do you know much about Tennyson's poetry at all? Or?
No.
No?
That's the short answer.
Well, alright, then fair enough. But Jack,
I'm aware of what a kraken is, though.
well, what's Kraken then?
It's like a octopus, big creature thing that lives in the water.
Yes, it's a. Well, is it would
In
you,
the water.
in the water?
He really explained that to me. Like,
In the ocean, it's okay.
Well,
It attacks boats from the old days. Tennyson wrote about it.
and it was supposed to be like a giant squid, like it's when you had that image in your head of like a giant octopus taking over the side of the ship. Was that what the Kraken was?
Yeah, it was just like a legend that this creature lived in the water and attacked like the old style boats that were Viking boats and things like that.
And yeah, well, there's no reason to believe it didn't exist, is there? Like, there's nothing to disprove it.
I'll do some research for next week. And
Well, I mean,
see if we get to the bottom of it.
so there we go. Next week, Colin's going to prove the Kraken exists.
excellent, Colin. Yeah. I actually want samples. I want at least one leg of the. Is it an 8-legged creature? Or is it many more? We'll find out when you bring us back samples.
Technically, it's arms.
Oh well, there you go then.
It's arms.
Shut my mouth. But Jack wakes up. First thing he says, "Arse biscuits." I'm pretty sure I've seen that. That's the name of a band or something, isn't it? It's like a punk band or something, like
No.
a punk band. No.
Not one that I've ever heard of.
Oh, okay. Cool. Bad research, James. But yeah, so Ted again, he's been kept up at night, and he thinks, oh, well, maybe if I do go through this and kick Bishop Brennan up the arse, I'll have to take my punishment and put me to another parish, which is where he's. It's where he came up with the vision of the volcano tribes from the start of the episode, but. He says it can't be too bad in another parish until he opens the Craggy Island Examiner, and the main headline is 200 priests fall to death in another parish. So it's like he's getting it from all sides. He just can't get the, he's got this horrible situation he has to deal with, and everywhere he looks, he's getting confirmation that he shouldn't actually go through with it. But once again, in the He-Man bread spread, Dougal comes up with another fantastic idea. He seems to get a lot of them when he's lying in the He-Man bread spread with his Ireland jersey on. So if you go to 14 or 11.
Why don't you just kick him up the arse and then act like nothing happened? Brilliant. No, Ben, seriously. Look at it this way. How scared are you of Len? Very scared. Exactly. So how likely would it be for you to kick him up the arse? Well, not likely at all. Exactly. So when you kick him up the arse, just carry on like nothing happens. I never believed that you'd be brave enough to kick him up the arse. You just imagined it. Oh my God. That might well work.
So the idea he comes up with is to just go ahead with it and pretend like nothing happened, which is it's an idea that over the course of history has been put into practice quite a lot, I've found.
Really?
Well, yeah. If sometimes somebody in the office will come up with an idea that's just absolutely ridiculous, but because they've got a head strong enough just to go ahead with it, everyone just sort of has to catch up and then deal with the consequences after. And it just really annoys me that people just go ahead with a terrible idea and then expect the rest of the world to catch up on it.
Bit like this podcast.
Well, indeed. But we've managed to grow our numbers at least. But Dougal, Ted says that Dougal isn't exactly the most intelligent person in the world, and Dougal responds with, well, he's no Geoffrey Archer. Geoffrey Archer was a Tory politician under the Thatcher government who sued the Guardian for libel, but was later found to have lied in court during that trial and sent to prison for perjury. He's also the author of a lot of surprisingly popular political thrillers, for example, First Among Equals. And I've actually seen him in the flesh at one point when I was working at a charity event.
In a prison?
Not in a prison, no. He'd served his time. He'd paid us €40. He was emceeing at a charity auction for Paul Newman. Do you know the actor Paul Newman? He also has a children's charity where he educates children in developing world. And there was a plethora of A-list celebrities. Like Harrison Ford was there, Terry Gilliam was there, Mel B was there, the Strictly Come Dancing crew were there, and up at the front, emceeing it all was Geoffrey Archer, and all he was doing all night was trying to get people to spend more money, and he was actually surprisingly good at it, or perhaps not surprising.
Really weird mix of people though.
Yeah, you started out like really high, and then it just got lower and lower in quality.
I should have went the other way, should I?
Yeah, it would have sounded more impressive probably.
Okay, so
I think the question everyone wants to know is what were you doing there?
Well, I was just serving waitering.
Oh, you're working there.
Yeah. But yes, Van Morrison was there. We were there very early in the afternoon, and we're never told what these things are. We're just told to show up at them. And somebody was playing piano doing the sound check, and all I heard was the first few bars of Madame George. And, oh, that's nice. Somebody's playing Madame George there. And then I heard the Northern Irish accent. I thought, hang on. And I looked around the corner, and right enough down on the piano was Van the Man himself, and he did a few numbers during the concert as well. So yeah. So go work in the catering industry, everyone. Get a free Van Morrison concert. Yeah, so we get the impression that Len, or they come with the idea that Len wouldn't believe that Ted would actually kick him.
I think you mean Bishop Brennan, sorry, just to...
Oh yes, yeah, actually, don't call him Len, little prick. Yeah.
I was thinking about this earlier, like even though the whole episode is focused on Ted kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse, it seems to be quite a Dougal focused episode. Dougal is the one who comes up with the brilliant plan. Yeah. He's also the one who ruins said brilliant plan in the end. And he also, to me, he's got the biggest laughs throughout the episode.
What's the biggest laughs?
Well, for me, it's just like as we one-off lines and stuff, about Clint Eastwood at the start, and then whenever he says he's got an audience with the Pope, and he's like, oh, he's really savage, things like that.
Right, yeah.
To me, he always had the main jokes.
Okay, well, you said that Dougal ruins the plan. I'm going to leave it until we get to it, but I don't think he did. I think Ted ruined it. But
Dougal and his, stupidity.
Well, he was just following the orders that Ted had given him.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, they decide to rejig the idea. They've got one last chance now that Bishop Brennan's still in the parish. So if we go to 1523, and they decide to go again, and they're a bit more prepared. They come up with a better plan this time. So instead of having Jessup there to ruin everything, they get Jessup taken away, and we'll see how that goes.
Wait a minute, that's not yours. That belongs to his... Don't you look at me like that. Are there any supper? Come back here! Get back! What was that? Mice or something? No, I can't. Oh, just listen, wait a minute. It seems to be a very crude watercolor painting. In a bishop's hat. Really? You're right. Tell you what must have happened. Dougal probably didn't want you to be disappointed, so he must have drawn that himself.
So he actually went through it, and he kicked Bishop Brennan up the arse. Now, I remember watching this the very first time as a 12-year-old or so, and thinking, he's never actually going to go through it. This is going to be one of those sitcom moments where you think he's going to have to do this horrible, horrible task. At the last minute, he's going to just find some way of weaseling out of it. So, like, do you remember seeing that and actually them going through it and having the same, almost the same expression on your face as Len had?
I think I missed it first time round because I was laughing so much at the watercolour picture. And generally I was doubled over, tears in my eyes. I just thought that was so funny for some reason.
It is. It's a brilliant little aberration they've come up with there. Well, Dougal just sort of scroll on the wall, but it's very good.
With a smiley face.
Yeah, very crude watercolour, as Len pointed out.
I like that they utilised the now broken window as well.
Yes, and
Like didn't bring Dougal in the room and had him climb up ladders for some reason.
Climb up
How
ladder.
Bishop Brennan didn't notice him.
Yeah. Well, Dougal on the ladder. It says again they had planned it better, so they had put Dougal into position as well, and he was also honing his paparazzi skills, because we've seen in the Pat Mustard episode that he's got a great mic setup for distance listening. Now he's got a great paparazzi setup with his cameras. Or the alternative is he's also auditioning for American teen sitcoms like Clarissa Explains It All or Sister Sister, when they all come through the window on the ladder. Do you remember that?
Dawson's Creek.
Dawson's Creek, yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, was this a thing in America where kids just went to each other's houses with ladders and just went?
I don't think they took the ladders with them. I'm pretty sure they just used the ladders that were at the house.
Yeah, but they never thought of going through the front door, like this.
Well, they were usually sneaking in at night.
Make it short.
Well,
Jesus.
This is true. But yeah, Len's face. That there's no emoji for that, is there? It's like the greatest look of shock that sort of sticks with him for quite some time. But Ted plays it absolutely perfectly. As you say, it just plays along as if nothing's happened. Just oh yeah, you're right. That is a bit of a watercolor. But anyway, on your way, and he's already got the taxi phone and everything, so you can get him out of the building and just have to not have to deal with it at all.
Like it's probably one of the few times in like a sitcom or anything where they come up with a plan, but they don't show you the whole build up to the plan or anything. There's just literally cuts to it, and even Jessup, they didn't even discuss disposing of him. They just did it.
Well, exactly. It is one of the keys of writing, that you show don't tell. As in, you don't write down, and this is what we're going to do, and then we're going to do this, and then Jack's going to get him and stick it in a hamper. They'll actually just show you it happening. So, but the fact that they had everyone in position, that it wasn't just let's all get in the room and see what happens.
Yeah.
So no, it was obviously a much better executed plan. And Dougal obviously has a photo to prove it, so his photography skills are increasing. But then Mrs. Doyle finds Jessup in the hamper after Ted has got rid of her. Actually, sorry, after Jack has got rid of him.
Oh, thank God. Help me. Father Jessup, what are you doing in Father Hackett's underpants hamper? Not be in here. Dear God. The smell. Are you not terribly uncomfortable in there? Of course I'm uncomfortable. I want to get out.
So obviously Jess was stuck in there for quite some time. It'd be horrible to think what's actually going to happen to him now if he's in the hamper.
Yeah, be worried about what he's going to catch.
Well, yeah, actually, the thought of that, like Jack is a constant drinker, so he has constantly that beer sweat that you have the next morning, like just constantly, and now he's in a hamper full of that.
Well,
It's absolutely disgusting.
I'm not worried about the beer smell. I mean, look at his underwear; it's all yellow stains.
Well, that as well, yeah. It's obviously not a nice place to be,
Yeah.
but that's what you get for being sarcastic, I suppose. Nobody knows when to take you seriously. Yeah, it is. But Ted's a bit hubristic when he thinks that he's actually got away with it, and he has a few drinks, and it's the first time we've actually seen him drunk. We'll have a look at what happens to him.
This is fine. First thing in the morning, Dougal, I want 200 copies for all my friends. I want for myself blown up 10 by 10. Fuck off!
Yeah, so we've seen Ted drunk, so he's just as scary when he's drunk as Jack can be.
Yeah, Dougal looks a bit sheepish there. He's not sure how to react.
Well, exactly. And
Reminds you of who was the recovering alcoholic? Episode like ages ago.
yes.
I made the BBC.
Yeah, he's on the verge of becoming that.
Well, possibly he seems to have a better handle on his
Yeah.
drinking. I mean, we have seen him with drinks in his hands before, so he clearly can't hold his drink. It's just maybe, he's got the fire in his belly today because he's kicked Bishop Brennan off the arse. It's not every day you get away with that. So, but he demands 200 copies for all his friends. Do you reckon Ted has 200 friends?
That's all the people he slagged off when he was getting the Golden Claret.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And we've no Larry Duff anymore because we haven't seen him in quite some time actually. So we can
Did he
only.
appear in series 3 at all? Or
That's what I'm starting to
did he
notice.
appear?
He hasn't actually appeared at all in series 3.
Him and Tom.
Tom hasn't appeared. Well, Tom hasn't appeared since until our podcast, but he hasn't appeared since the rabbits. Since he was about to take care of the rabbits in Al Pacino style.
Yeah.
Airplane episode, is that not in season 3?
That was the end of season 2.
No, right.
And we think we can only surmise that the junkies that trampled him was what actually finally killed him. Yeah. After all those mobile phone calls. So poor old Larry. So he didn't get to get one of his photographs of kicking Bishop Brennan off the arse. But he does demand to be blown up into a 10 by 10. Now you said that it was Dougal's fault that Ted got ruined.
Yeah.
I actually might be back on board with you because he said 10 by 10, which would be usually you'd imagine would be 10 inches by 10 inches.
Yeah.
Instead of 10 feet by 10 feet, which is.
But it's like it's Dougal's typical thing of he ruins the plan by accident. He doesn't realise he's going to be causing trouble by doing it. Like again, I always refer back to the episode and I can't remember the whole thing, but he's like Ted's trying to tell a lie and Dougal keeps accidentally ruining the lies on him over and over again. It's like the same thing here.
Well, this time Ted actually doesn't tell lies. He's actually actually honest with it for once. But yeah, so Bishop Brennan is still in shock all the way to Rome. So we'll have a look at what happens when he gets to Rome and he finally meets the pontiff.
Bishop Brennan.
He did kick me up the ass! Get me on the first plane back to Ireland. Now, goddammit! What are you looking at?
So he finally managed to meet the pontiff, which is surely the height of his career as the bishop all the way from Limerick. But he takes it. This is when he finally dawns on him that Ted actually did kick him up the arse. It reminded me of a scene of Mr. Bean when Mr. Bean met the Queen.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
yeah.
And
with the zipper gets stuck.
well, he feels like he has to do a curtsy or a bow, and he ends up headbutting her. So Bishop Brennan just shoves a pontiff out of the way. But yes, do you ever get that when you're not quite sure something's happened, and then it just really slowly dawns on you at the worst possible moment?
Yeah.
You're sometimes I've gotten on buses and thinking, God, I'm definitely in the wrong bus, and then you pass somewhere in North London, you think I'm actually going the wrong direction, and your whole night is ruined, and it takes you about 3 hours to get back home. But he does get in the bus all the way back to Ireland, and he comes flying out of the car, looking like some sort of vampire or something. With the
I think that is one of the greatest like images of any TV show ever.
we'll stick it up then so everyone can see it on 20 minutes.
What was it?
It might actually just play it. It'll be probably it.
This is the best bit.
So yeah, like if you can imagine a worse hangover.
It's great. It's almost like, you know, did you ever see in the films when Batman's like coming down from the sky to beat up a criminal? You know, it's like that. It looks like that.
Well,
The cape billowing out behind him.
Well, exactly. I mean, you've woken up you know, and I'm sure we've all had these mornings. It's like, oh shit, what did I do last night? And then to have it suddenly in your face in such a visceral way as with a wingspan of like 10 feet of Bishop Brennan flying through the air to you. He does actually manage to follow through with Dougal's plan, so he sticks to it and he tries to convince Len, well, sure, this is a stupid idea, I would never kick you up the arse. I think you're great, his actual words. So Bishop Brennan actually buys this, until of course, as you said, Dougal comes in with with his printout.
The one you want to blown up, the 10 by 10. Where do you want that? Bye, Bishop Brennan. We love you.
So Len got his revenge in the end, and Ted got his comeuppance for having to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse. But it was good old kick that Brennan gave him, done.
Yeah, lift him.
Got him airborne, like you know, Johnny. Yeah, exactly. You know, Johnny Wilkinson. Johnny Wilkinson's very proud of a kick like that, like. But what did everyone think of the episode? Oh, what did everyone here think of the episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you remember it? One of your favourites? Yeah, that was. What do you think, Conor? We'll start with you.
I liked everything about the episode apart from Father Jessup.
Right.
He annoyed me a bit, and I didn't like the way that whenever Bishop Brennan got kicked up the arse and Jessup was in the underpants hamper, it was just accepted that he had gone on ahead as Dougal, or as it was somebody said Father Jessup's gone on ahead, like he just left.
Yes.
Bishop Brennan there.
Was he? Brennan was still in a bit of shock then.
Yeah.
So
I think he would have accepted anything at that point.
yeah, I'm sure he wasn't actually listening to what anyone was saying at that point. Like he was just where's yeah. But yeah, I do agree with you that he was a very weak character. But I'm trying to think if he was trying to put that on as if that really annoying drone of his was sort of very put upon to make him even more annoying. What about you, Graham? What do you think?
There was that poll that said it was the favourite, like the fans' favourite episode. They all voted saying best episode of all time, and I really don't think so.
No,
Really didn't like it.
you didn't like it at all, right?
It's
even like
alright.
Father
I
Ted.
mean, for Father Ted, it's that same thing. Like for Father Ted, even the bad episodes are better than the best episodes of a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But there's far better than that.
Well, I think that. Yeah, what would you think?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't think it was one of the best episodes. Like even the
I think it's got iconic images.
Yeah. It was a very visual episode, which is
Like
why I chose it for Culture Night. Well, it also worked out very well in their sequence.
just even the whole idea of it and all, it is very Father Ted idea. I just don't think it's executed very well.
But yeah. Well, I mean, it'll not be a top 5 contender
Yeah.
for me when we're doing our list. I don't think it's one of the worst. I do think it's better than the football episode, which I thought was a lot weaker than I remember. Because there was genuinely laugh out loud moments. There was great visuals, as we said. And again, like there was great iconic sort of screenshots if you want.
Yeah.
You know, the big photograph of Ted seeing himself kick Bishop Brennan off the arse.
Purely for the watercolour painting of Bishop Brennan. It was
Well,
brilliant.
exactly. Yeah, watercolor. There was some good lines. There was some good lines.
Yeah.
You know, it got 9.1 on IMDb, which I think was a bit high considering some of the other ones got less than 9, like some of the earlier ones. But yeah, it was solid, and it was, you know,
solid's a good word for it.
yeah, and
Solid with a couple of memorable kind of moments.
exactly.
In
Sounds like my
general.
life.
Well, that's the existence, isn't it? That's but I mean, it's the fact that it was their only 2-parter episode. You think they would have. Well, they did make a big deal of it. The fact that the forfeit was so huge, and it was so huge in their universe.
Yeah.
You know, kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse. Jesus, you can't fucking do that. But you know, you think they put that at the end of the series or something, because coming up to the very last episode, I think is a lot weaker than this. Or even stretched across maybe a series, although they probably didn't know they had another series coming up. They probably didn't know what they were doing. But it seemed like they just sort of planted in the middle of the series, in the middle of series 3, whereas they could have either put it at the start or put it at the end and made a much bigger deal of it. Like,
I think it was a bit out of place, maybe.
yeah, it just sort of it sort of blunts what the impact it could have had. Maybe. Having said all that, yeah. Got to kick Bishop Brennan up the arse and got a big massive picture of it, so it's alright by me. But we'll wrap it up there, and thank everyone in our audience who came down to see us. Give yourselves a big round of applause. And anyone who's still on Facebook Live there, thank you very much. Yes, we've been Ecumenical Matters. You can get the podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Ecumenical Matters. You can go on facebook.com/Ecumenical Matters. We've got Graham Harrison.
Don't forget to take your pictures as well from the walls, by the way. So everyone gets one.
Please do not do that. Don't forget to see Colin tonight at 7 in the Sunflower Bar, of course. We have Vincent Kettle. A big round of applause for James for us. And I've been your host, James McAnespy. Thank you very much. And bless you.